So let's get straight into ICT trends. So you may be aware of some trends already. What is ICT? I would really like to encourage you, not just in this module, but throughout your studies, to do a little bit of research yourself as well. I'll give you a few tips and a bit of a lead in here in the PowerPoints, but particularly with the self-study hours allocated to this, I encourage you to do some research for yourself. We're here to coach you and guide you, and we'd love to help you as much as possible. I'll give you a little bit of a lead in here, but I'd also like you to do some research. So I'd like you to go and look up what exactly is ICT trends and come to the workshop next week with a good idea of this. But in general, it's using technology in business, and that is completely unavoidable these days. There's a lot of disruptive technology and innovation. I'll talk about that in a moment. And the core of your first assignment is why should companies invest in ICT, and what is that exactly? So this global digital snapshot, I was going to update it just now, but I thought this is a great opportunity for you also to do a bit of research and see how things are changing. So in general though, wherever you come from in the world, and I love that we're such an international cohort here at the Hague University of Applied Sciences, wherever you are in the world, people are using the internet, they're using social media, things are going particularly mobile, and people use it daily. The use around the world is increasing. Depending on where you're from, there may be still some scope for it to increase more, and some are reaching saturation. But I would like to recommend that you go and have a look wherever you're from, what the internet usage is like right now, and where are those figures rising and maybe even falling. Mobile connections, I think the average, like in West Europe, is 125%. I know in my household, I have an 8 and 10-year-old that have just got their first smartphones, and I have in our household of 4 people, yet we've got about 1.5 phones each. So how many mobiles have you got? What kind of operating systems? These are all the type of things that you need to think about in the topic of e-business. 87% of millennials say that their smartphone never leaves their side. I also teach IMC, Integrated Marketing Communications, and you'll be doing that next semester, and we talk about something there called no-mo-phobia, no mobile phone phobia. So I know when I walk out the door without my phone, I usually have to rush back and get it, and it's usually within reach. It's always here by my side. In fact, I've got a lanyard, so I'll wear it around my neck. But this is a trend that we need to be aware of, and how can we utilize that for business? So which mobile operating system are you on is something to consider as well. So I'm an iOS, but I also have an Android. Windows and BlackBerry are smaller percentages, and are there others? So like I said, I'm giving you a few tips here. I'm not going to give you every single bit of information you need for the assignment. I'm giving you a few ideas of things to think about, and then you can make some notes and go and research this further. But basically, Android at the moment, when these figures came out, was the biggest operating system, and I believe still is. iOS is the next one, and then there's others as well. Xiaomi in China is one of the leaders, and make use of this in your workshops. So you're in new groups this year. In Year 2 and in Year 1, you got to know your fellow students from all around the world, and you did the ICP, the Intercultural Project Week, which is always one of my favorites. Make use of that wealth of knowledge in your class. Talk to some of the Chinese students, talk to some of the students from all around the world, engage and interact with each other and ask questions like, what are the biggest smartphones where you're from? And when you do your assignment, there is a big cultural aspect. So you can, of course, choose your own country where you're native to, but you can also choose another and research that. This will come in handy in the future as well when you go on your internships and study abroads and start writing your thesis. Messaging apps is a very interesting ICT trend. So when I ask in the minor that I teach as well, that's just kicking off this week for the Year 3s, It's been interesting to see that WhatsApp has been creeping in there as one of the favorite social media messaging apps. Facebook's also big, and go and have a look and see if you can find some statistics yourself of what are the most popular apps and social media tools that are being used in business. WeChat is another one. I don't use WeChat because I don't know many people on WeChat, but I know it's huge in China and it's becoming popular in other countries. And WeChat is fascinating. We had a guest lecture at the Hague University of Applied Sciences talking about how many things are actually integrated within WeChat itself. So these are all ICT trends that are worth being aware of. Buy buttons and e-commerce is something else to look up. Buy buttons are coming in. Twitter, Facebook, Google are making it really easy now to buy immediately and buy online. Mass customization is possible with the increases in technology and ICT. So not only do you buy products now, you can actually get products with your name on them. Advertising is pretty huge, and some people love advertising, some people don't, but you need to be aware that this is an engine that drives ICT. We talk more about this in IMC next semester, but you can start doing a bit of research and looking at the trends about advertising for business online. And people are trying to stop it, so you have to be pretty smart as an advertiser to bypass this as well. Businesses are being completely reinvented through apps and the usage of apps in business. And user-generated content is something that interests me very personally as well. People are generating content and content consumers and content creators. So what type of content do you consume every day? And as a business and an e-business, how do you get this content in front of people? Online platforms are enabling steady growth in product and services. So this module and e-business in general is relevant to both products, so tangible things that you can hold, and services as well. There's a lot of space for innovation and growth in education, healthcare, and government are 3 areas. And for example, with education, I just finished my master's on e-learning, and there is a very interesting multi-billion dollar industry worldwide, healthcare and things like smartwatches and smartphone connections. Governments are using e-business and ICT and technology more and more. Disruption is a term that you'll hear here, so things that are changing rapidly. So the type of software and hardware that we use, the fact that it's global, the type of mobiles that we carry. There's some really great developments in 3D and virtual reality as well coming in. Drones are making a difference. And there's things like the first movers and fast followers. You'll hear also terms like early adopters. But basically, the way that we consume content, the way that businesses do business online, the way we share music is changing completely. So the music industry has been completely disrupted by technology. I am old enough to remember carrying one of these around. And then one of these, I remember running on the beach and trying to stop it skipping, and then things have developed with MP3 players, and then they've developed. So depending on your age, I think most of you are between about 18 to 22 or so, but these developments in e-business and ICT have happened within your lifetime. But in this module, we want you to think about the value of your experience to companies in the future, but also the way that ICT has completely disrupted the way that business is done. Things like cloud computing and new business models and new value chains have been created. This is a really neat infographic that you can look up the link to with 12 disruptive technologies. And this kind of thing is not only interesting, but useful for when you're researching for your first assignment and which business you're going to use. You'll be asked to write in your first assignment report, why should companies invest in ICT? These are just a few of our suggestions. So in the workshops as well, we can talk through a few of these, and on the Facebook group, we can discuss them as well. There's a few resources I encourage you to add and share your own. And what is e-business? So just to back up again, so we've talked about ICT trends in general, and here, these are the specific things that e-business covers in within a business. So it's bringing together anything related to the ICT side of things, both internally and externally. The terminology, so you'll hear things like e-commerce. We've chosen e-business, but they're similar concepts. You'll hear digital, ICT being thrown around, business to consumer, business to business, and CRMs and technology. I suggest that you decide on the terms that you're going to use in your report and explain how and why you're using those terms, to just be very clear, because sometimes people use things interchangeably. Globalization has had a big impact on e-business. So 1.0 there is the Dutch actually sailed around the world, were known for the in the golden age, and then like the steam trains, and the world seemed to shrink, and now it seems tiny because countries seem so close together. I'm Australian, as you can hear from my accent, and I communicate with my family basically daily, and that wasn't available or possible before. Some things I'd like you to think about and discuss, if you like, in the Facebook group. How has e-business affected your life? And how will it affect your career in the future? I turned 42 this week, and e-business was something that when I was at school, and even when I did my bachelor's degree in business not that long ago, this was something that we couldn't even really discuss or comprehend because it was only brand new. So it's been pretty intense how quickly this has grown.